Critical hits are one of the most game-breaking instances of RNG in competitive Pokemon. If a move lands a lucky crit, it's rewarded with an extra 50% boost to its damage. With no modifiers, it's only a 4.17% chance for a move to land a crit, but Kingdra specifically can pull out some crazy nonsense to take advantage of everyone's favorite luck-based effect and manipulate things to guarantee a crit every single turn. First of all, Kingdra itself is nothing too crazy with middle-of-the-road stats, but it does have the ability Sniper, which makes its critical hits do double damage instead of the usual 1.5 times. So here's how it works. We're going to first set up an agility to double our speed and make it quicker than essentially everything, and then with the help of screens or even defensive Terra Steel, we can click Focus Energy. This doubles our chances for landing critical hits, and when paired with the Scope Lens, which also boosts crit chances, every single move we click is going to land in a crit. If you're wondering about the math on it, it looks like this. Crit calculation worked in essentially 4 stages. At the base level with no modifiers, you have that 4.17% chance. Focus Energy gives us +2 to the ratio, and now at the 3rd stage, this results in a crit landing 50% of the time. The Scope Lens thrown in the mix now gives us the last +1 we need to hit the 4th stage, resulting in a guaranteed 100% chance for crits. Now with the full setup, Kingdra's able to throw out sniper boosted, guaranteed critical hits with one of the strongest moves in the game in Draco Meteor. Since crits ignore our own stat drops, the -2 we get to our special attack each turn literally makes no difference at all, and we can spam Draco Meteors all day with no downfall. The crits even ignore opposing Pokemon stat boosts, along with ignoring screens like Aurora Veil or Light Screen, which is wild. We've got coverage and Flash Cannon for opposing fairies, and while this Kingdra strategy has been around for a long time, we're going to show how broken it can be even to this day. Alright, look, Critdra has gotta be one of my favorite, OG gimmick strategies that at the same time is incredibly good, and if you do not come prepared, this thing is gonna destroy you. So today we're showing some love and dropping crits all over the place. By the way, I can't tell exactly what that is that you're eating for lunch, but you should put it down and go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And with that, let's jump into the match. Alright, so as my opponent has a very scary rain team, I'm not afraid because I have a Kingdra that is going to crit every time. So, they decide to lead off with a Basculegion, which turns out being pretty good because as I've got a little Narwhal guy, I can freely click a Ceaseless Edge. I want to prioritize getting those hazards up. If any Focus Sashes could potentially ruin my time. So, I hit him with a Ceaseless Edge as they end up swapping into Pelipper, who's got a big old bill that works as a nice little target. We slice him up a bit. It is going to be pretty defensive, so it takes it nicely, but I'm here to just lay down my Legos anyway. So, Pelipper is here to set up rain and enable their Swift Swim sweepers, and honestly, things can get a little bit out of hand if I don't get something going. So I decide, Pelipper probably just U-turns here. I'm going to take another free Spike, but as they stand and just go for a Hurricane, that's kind of fine as well. It does do over half, knocks me to 69. Nice. But at this point, I realize I should probably conserve the Scarf Boy. They don't know that it's Choice Scarf here. I could maybe use that to my advantage later. And then I realized that max special defense Chimecho has a chance to take attacks relatively easily, and then main plan is this. I want to try to get up my screens and get Kingdra going, because honestly, everything they've got with the 2x speed, with their Swift Swims, my best way around that is to just double my own speed, and then just drop crits and Dracos all over. So, they end up swapping into Ludicolo here, who does have a pretty hard-hitting Weather Ball. In the rain, hurts a lot, but I'm max special defense, and look, Chimecho is basically just here for the vibes. Is there every other option better than this thing for using screens? Absolutely, but I'm able to take one because I'm max special defense. Allows me to get up a Light Screen, and then as I'm looking at it here, they can finish me with another Weather Ball. Sometimes you just gotta take life by the balls, and I realize that Chimecho going down there is gonna put me in a great position to set up the Kingdra. I'm feeling like, especially with the Light Screen up, I can easily get up in agility here, and I can take attacks pretty nicely, and that's most of the time all you need, is these easy setup turns, and then boom, Kingdra's rolling, and before they realize what's happening, it's too late. And so they end up swapping. They decide to go Pelipper. I'm thinking potentially as probably just a fodder switch, but maybe think it could take an attack. But as they're met with an agility, they realize that, yeah, they're probably in a little bit of trouble. I am not Swift Swim, and instead I get my Swift Swim the old-fashioned way. We get up the agility. Now it's time to get pumped. I can enable myself to go for that Focus Energy. All they can really do is hit me with a Hurricane and hope for a confusion. It does nothing, even especially through the Light Screen, and you already know what time it is. I can go for a Draco Meteor, guaranteed crit with the Scope Lens, With Sniper, the boosted damage is going to do a lot to everything. And really, I just needed to open up the game and find myself the position to get this thing going. And oftentimes, that's what Kingdra needs. So, the rain goes away, but they do have a second setter in the Politoed. And as they bring this thing in, Frog says it is not nearly moist enough out here, so does set up the rain once again. The problem is, nothing wants to deal with crit Draco Meteors. I mean, just a crit Draco Meteor in general hurts, but with Sniper, it really is out of hand. So here's the thing. They end up swapping. They decide to go into the Overquill. This thing does look pretty menacing and not the kind of guy you want to mess with, but a Draco Meteor just absolutely pops his ass like a balloon. And we're over here stacking up special attack drops that literally do not matter. And the Kingdra is going crazy. So I've messed around with the moveset on this thing. It would be kind of nice to take advantage of guaranteed crit SERPs, especially in rain. But coverage against fairy type seems more important, which is why I'm rolling with the flash cannon. But a lot of the time, if they do not have a fairy answer, you can just outspeed, click Draco Meteor, kill salmons that are like already dead. This thing's already like a dead fish, but now he's just double dead. And there's really nothing, barring potential for like any sashes they might have had if I didn't have hazards up. Nothing is faster than the agilitied Kingdra. Buddy is feeling agile as hell with my one fin back there. And as I go for the Draco Meteor on the Ludicolo, here's what happens a lot of the time. I miss the Draco, which is unfortunate. It's bound to happen eventually, but as they go for an energy ball, just their best coverage, I'm able to take it because the light screen still had a turn on it, and that's pretty damn clutch. So considering I can just go for another Draco, luckily we get our eyesight fixed that time. We connect on the pineapple. The dancing mariachi pineapple goes down, and we're just rolling through. Here's the thing. Now, they do have a Kingdra of their own, and the funny part is we have technically a speed tie. I assume that this thing is Swift Swim, and since I have an agility, we're both doubled, so it's time to see who might win the coin flip, and it's going to get a little crazy here. So they do go for a Terra. I'm thinking potentially defensive Terra. Fairy would be crazy, but it's going to be the Terra Water. So this thing is extremely scary in rain with the Swift Swim, and now just boosted by Terra as well. Water attacks go crazy, but I win the speed tie, and a Draco Meteor just kills it. It does not matter if it's a resisted hit instead of super effective. The crit every time is going to destroy you. So down goes their Kingdra. You hate to do it to your fellow Kingdra brethren, but their final mon is going to be the Politoed, and this guy looks like he's having a nice time. He's not going to be having a nice time now. I do have 2 Draco Meteors left. I connect on the final one, and that is going to be a dead toad. So that's going to be the end of the match, and that is exactly the power that this Kingdra can get going. It honestly insane, and there's like, if you don't have anything for it, like there's nothing you can do. So Kingdra grabs itself a nice little W, but we're not quite satisfied, because that's now going to bring us into game number 2. Now, if you already have not clicked that like button, you should click it now, or else there's going to be a Kingdra coming to your, literally inside of your house to drop a crit Draco on you, and you don't want that to happen. So with that, let's get into the match. Alright, so this time my opponent decides to lead off with the Belly Bolt. Now, I have a little bit of a switch up here. I'm working with the Glimmora, and the plan with this is to, obviously get up Stealth Rock, but then be able to just be a fun pinata that lays down poison spikes on their side, and have a fun time with that. Also, I have a good matchup here, considering this thing could swap out Fearing and Earth Power. I don't have it, but I could always bluff it. I just go for the Stealth Rock, expecting anything, but they stay in, and they do have the Water Pulse. So coverage on the Water Pulse doesn't do much, but it does confuse me, which is great. So I assure you, you can't see them, but there are ducks above there, just barely. And I'm confused. I decide to stay in because it's not doing much anyway, and then I can get up at least a guaranteed layer of T-Spikes. The one thing I could worry about in terms of hazard removal is this going to be like a Defog Corviknight. But other than that, I'm going to lay down my hazards, and there's nothing they can do. So as I realize this Belly Bolt is not afraid, I figure I can actually pretty freely switch into Golurk here. Now, of course, this is a weird Golurk, but it's kind of cool. So here's the thing. I can come in on an electric attack, and then I likely just force this thing out with the threat of an Earthquake. So they do go for the charge. Doesn't affect Megatron. It's time to Autobot. I guess I'm a Decepticon. I don't know. My ass is Autobot rolling out anyway. And I decide, here's the thing, they surely switch into Corviknight here. Expecting the Earthquake, what I'm going to do is go for the Trick. Now, Golurk is the only Pokemon with the ability Klutz allowing it to not use hold items. I can trick an Assault Vest to whatever I want, which is kind of counterintuitive sometimes, but I think it's hilarious to give things Assault Vest, because look, I give the Corviknight a vest, which is great, because now if this thing has Defog, it can't click it. If it's an Iron Defense and Body Press set, it also can't go for that, and it kind of just ruins what this thing wants to do. Now, the problem is, I just make it more bulky on the special side, which, happens, but just giving unassuming fellas scarfs is kind of fun. So, I realize I'm going to go ahead and get some rain up. I've got rain of my own this time. I got a little rain situation going on, and as they do Brave Bird, the Toilet Bird takes it nicely, but they're just going to stay in, continue to throw some Brave Birds out, which is great because it does stack up some recoil. This thing can no longer use Roost if it's got it. And as I hit it with a U-turn, I can now swap into kind of whatever I want. So Kingdra does potentially have an opportunity to get going here, but I realize Barraskewda also isn't bad. I've been kind of working with a little bit of some rain options. Kingdra in the rain is fun because it kind of bluffs the fact that I'm Swift Swim and then I get a free agility potentially. But here I go for the flip turn thinking maybe they swap out. It doesn't have enough to kill, which is unfortunate. And now I'm kind of dealt with stuck in a spot where something's about to take a Brave Bird. So knowing that the Brave Bird's coming, I can pretty freely just go into Glimmora, who is, you know, a good punching bag to just take physical attacks, because as they do hit me, it doesn't do much. But then also it just sets up my second layer of the toxic spikes with the debris. So Buddy's got some nonsense going on over on their side. And this Corv has just been slowly destroying itself with Brave Bird recoil, which is kind of sweet. Now the problem is I don't have an attack that can touch the guy. So I realize it's not even worth switching though, because they're surely just going to stay in and go for another attack. And as they body press, it just finishes me off, which is fine because I just need to Glimmora dead anyway. But they don't take the recoil there. But here's the thing. The damage to the Corv has been done. I don't have to worry about it being assault vested and taking attacks, because now I'm in a spot where Kingdra pretty freely sets up on this thing. I'm thinking I can take at least 2 Brave Birds. And then I'm also thinking the first one potentially knocks itself out. But regardless, I need to get up my agility first things first. We got to make ourselves fast. And we're Swift Swimming indoors. So they do go for the Brave Bird here. And that's going to do a nice little chunk. Does do less than half. But sadly, the recoil does not kill it. Now I have a decision to make, right? Surely they're not going to body press here. I'm thinking I can go for a Terra Steel to resist that next Brave Bird and just ensure that I have as much health as possible. Because the problem is they have priority in the form of Fake Out Ambipom in the back. So if I go for the Terra Steel now, that's going to at least allow me to be able to take the Fake Out later. And I still need to get up my focus energy. The downfall of this set is you do need 2 turns to get it going. And without screens, makes it a little more difficult, but with the Terra, oftentimes you can find yourself a spot. So they do Brave Bird once again. That is going to finish itself off, but I take a little bit of damage. And now I'm just chilling over here with an axe on my head and ready to just crit in the back pocket, no matter what. So first, they decide to bring in Belly Bolt. They're probably thinking this is specially defensive and can take attacks or whatever this Belly Bolt wants to do. Regardless, I'm going to throw some Dracos at it and really just mostly hope for no miss here, because Draco Meteor misses, really harsh the vibe. So luckily I do connect, and this is Kingdra's magic trick, because now you see it and now you don't. You just straight up delete the Belly Bolt, which is great. If that thing was Assault Vest, it could have potentially lived an attack if it was also max Spadef, but that's going to take care of it. So now we're in a spot where once again Kingdra's got all the setup we need. And as they bring in Ambipom, this is why the Terra Steel is great, because I know that I should be able to take at least 1 Fake Out, which, you know, it sucks to have to do, but they go for the Fake Out. I do live it just barely with 13, and of course we flinch. So the situation now is the rain goes away, and I am still faster because I have the agility, and I'm honestly mostly just worried about this Ambipom swapping out and then coming back in later for another Fake Out. But it turned out they stay in. I clicked Draco Meteor expecting the swap because Flash Cannon would be able to, you know, take care of it anyway. But luckily we do not miss the Draco and they stay in with the Ambipom, which is huge because that gives us all new life. No more priority options now means that Kingdra is free to just continue to mash A, and Draco Meteor is looking pretty solid. So they can bring in Tauros now, and Intimidate obviously does not really matter, but I can freely just click a Draco Meteor. The main thing I'm worried about now is a defensive Terra, but as they don't go for it, Tauros has absolutely no shot. Draco Meteor just deletes it, and once again, we are now at like -6 special attack, but it does not matter. And overall, the Kingdra stonks have never been higher. So here's the thing. They've got 2 Mons left. First, they're going to bring in Pelipper. In the back, they have a Garchomp. So Pelipper generally going to be defensive. Does set up back up the rain, which doesn't really matter for anything. But other than that, the Kingdra probably just feels a little more at home in the rain. But I go for the Draco Meteor. It does not miss. And with the chip we have on the thing, that's going to be a dead Pelipper. So final Mon being Garchomp. I know that they still have a Terra in the back pocket. If they've got it, they're going to use it. If it's Terra Fairy, I almost want to click the Flash Cannon, but regardless, it's probably in my best interest to just drop some more Dracos. So Garchomp comes in, does get badly poisoned, which is always nice, and also them setting up back up the rain is helpful for sweepers in the back. So they are going to pull out the Terra, likely going to be a defensive Terra here. I'm thinking, please no Fairy. It turned out to be Terra Steel, so he says, I see your axe. I've actually got one of those as well. And that is kind of bad, because now Draco Meteor is going to be resisted, and even with a sniper crit, it is not going to be enough to take care of it. So the tanky Chomp is able to live, but it's incredibly too late. They can finish me with an Earthquake, which down goes the Kingdra, which does give us a little bit of blue balls. We almost had the full body bag once again, but down goes Kingdra, and while Garchomp gets a little bit of a miniature dub there, I can still, I've done enough chip to the thing where it does not matter at all. I can bring in, I actually heard that this Garchomp, through the grapevine, I heard it likes fish sticks. So I'm going to bring in the Barraskewda, who is, the fastest torpedo frigate ever in rain. And I'm going to be like, yeah, you know what? Actually, I'm going to beat the shit. I'm just going to Liquidation. I was going to close combat instead. No, Liquidation is able to take care of the Chomp. While we do get rough-skinned, that's fine. And Rocky Helmet. Doesn't even matter. We take a little bit of chip for the road, and that's going to do it. So we capitalize on a couple of nice turns there for us, but overall, Kingdra, once again, put in the finest of work. And sometimes you don't even need screens to get yourself in a spot to have all the momentum. And that's going to be the end of that game. So, well, that was a pretty fun one. This strategy is honestly pretty wild and very fun to use. So we're going to come at you with another game. Here's the thing. If you haven't clicked the like button yet, I don't know what to tell you. Go ahead and hit it for me. But this guy's got a very scary team and some interesting stuff over there. So let's see what we can get going. Now let me tell you, this one turns out to be pretty crazy, so you should definitely stick around. But as they lead off with an Iron Bundle, I am not feeling the Christmas spirit. I have a Donphan who is, obviously in a bad spot here. But luckily, here's the thing. They have a booster energy. As they get the special attack boost, Donphan is not really looking to swap out here. First of all, nothing wants to switch into a booster energy freaking Iron Bundle, so I'm going to stay in. And as they do knock me down to Sturdy, that's going to then freeze me, which of course is worst case, because, I would really like to get my Stealth Rock up, but it still does activate the red card. I am a Donphan Popsicle, but it still forces the thing out, and that is essentially going to waste the booster energy, so that feels really nice. But as it now brings in the Skarmory, I am going to end up thawing out, which is incredibly clutch. I was like, holy shit, thank God. A lot of the time, the freeze is the worst thing to possibly see, but hey, when you thaw out, you just put the Donphan through just a traumatic experience, and we were only a popsicle for a minute there. So I get up my Stealth Rock, but against Skarmory, I don't really have much business staying in here. So I realized that one way I can capitalize is to immediately swap into Magmortar. Now, I know that this thing's going to set up hazards, and as it does go for the spikes, I come in before those touch the ground, which is great. But also, Magmortar potentially just forces a swap here, which is what I'm kind of hoping for. And this is a Belly Drum Magmortar, so as I go directly for that Belly Drum, they stay in. Buddy is not afraid for some reason, and while I do maximize my attack to +6, that's then going to put me in Citrus range. And we're looking pretty healthy and at max attack here, so I'm thinking, hold on. Magmortar could potentially pop off, and we're feeling pretty safe here. So as they go for the Stealth Rock now, they've got a layer of spikes, they got the rocks up, but I have a physical Magmortar who is not afraid of no damn metal chicken. So the bad news is this. The Skarmory came in before the Stealth Rock got set up, so as I can Flame Charge, it is able to live with Sturdy, which sucks. We've got a couple of Sturdy situations going on early, and I also take some Rocky Helmet damage, and then it has Roar. So I'm like, are you kidding me? I finally get the Belly Drum in a safe spot here, and then I get roared out. So, hazards, Skarmory with Roar, absolutely hosed me once again, and that ends up bringing in Donphan, who just dies from the spikes, which was fine. It would have been nice to save that for a Death Fodder swap in later, but, it is what it is. So, knowing that this Skarmory is a dick like that, I realize, what, that's fine. I can go into the Samurott here, and I can finish it off with a Ceaseless Edge, because, at least this thing can't really swap out. It's just going to come back in and die from hazards later, so I decide I should at least get up a layer of spikes here. I'm going to match their Stealth Rocking Spike combo. So that is going to finish off the Skarm, and that's at least a good sight to see. Because Skarmory equals annoying, and down it goes. So now as they can bring in whatever they like, they have some obvious threats in the back. The main thing being Iron Bundle. That thing is such an incredible problem. With it having access to Freeze Dry, there's really nothing I have that wants to deal with this damn thing. So, of course, they're going to bring right back in the freaking Cyborg Delibird. And looking at it, I'm like, nothing takes 2 attacks here. So, I'm just going to stay in, go for a Ceaseless Edge, which is going to be able to outspeed. And I was hoping that maybe it would kill. It does not. But what it does do is this. I get up another layer of spikes. And as I do go down to a Freeze Dry here, I'm now in a spot where at least they can not swap out anymore. A bundle, unless they have any crazy hazard removal in the back, does not have enough health to come back in, and take Stealth Rock. So, this now puts me in a position where at least Chimecho is sometimes good for something, because check this out. I can come in just waving around like a flag, and I should be able to take one attack here and get up a light screen. And as they click Blizzard, luckily it misses, because thank God. At least I'm specially defensive. I think I could take at least one of them, but now surely we're in a pretty good spot. I'm able to get up my light screen, and I figure, you know, while I'm here, I might as well pop a Reflect up as well. I got the Light Clay. It's going to stick around, and as they now freeze dry, it doesn't do anything. I realize max special defense Chimecho and max HP behind a light screen, kind of a good answer to an Iron Bundle. So I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool. Now, the thing is this. I have two options here. Either I stay in and go finish it with a knockoff, or I Healing Wish. And I realized I kind of would like this bundle to stick around here. It feels like a pretty good option for me to use Kingdra as a setup here. So I'm going to completely just off myself, which is great. And now it's time to go Kingdra. So the way that Healing Wish works is that a Pokemon that already has damage on it comes in and will get healed. So considering I switch in Kingdra, I take both of the hazards. I do not get the Healing Wish until I come back in with already damage. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but I now realize surely they're going to go for something like a Freeze Dry. And while the light screen is up, I figure it's probably my best bet to go for that Terra Steel. I can guarantee I can live. It's not going to really do anything, and then I can at least get my agility up. I'll then be faster, and then I can focus energy, and then it's just straight up over for Buddy. At least that's what I'm thinking at this point. So while they do Freeze Dry, it does nothing. Freaking Neptune shrugs that shit off, and I can get up in agility. Now, boom, all of a sudden, we are speedy as hell, and all I got to do now is pop a focus energy. So looking at it, they don't have any reliable priority to pick me off, and as I now get that focus energy, it's just straight up game time. So they figure a Hydro Pump is their best damage. Doesn't do enough behind the light screen, which is sweet, because now I can finish it off with a Flash Cannon, which Draco Meteor is definitely best avoided whenever you don't have to click it. So Flash Cannon guaranteed to hit, takes care of the bundle, and now we're in a fantastic spot with the Kingdra. The bad thing is they haven't used their Terra yet, and knowing that there's a defensive Terra in the back pocket is tough. I like to try to set this up, if possible, after their Terra has been used, because if they have no surprises, you know, we're in a much better spot. But as they bring in Hydrapple, I just straight up drop a Draco. There's no Terra. The crit is able to take care of it. Even if it was Assault Vest, that's going to be a dead-ass apple, and that's going to take care of it. So 2 down with the Kingdra, and now we're just going to see how far we can take this thing. So we're feeling pretty nice. Now, in comes Crocodile. Oftentimes these things are going to be Choice Scarf, which is quick, but not quicker than Kingdra after an agility. And I do outspeed. I go for a Flash Cannon because we know, especially with the boost from the Terra, that's going to be enough to take care of it. Sniper crit his ass. Down goes the Krook. And we're just absolutely rolling through the team once again. But while we're feeling pretty good, my light screen goes away, and there's always something in Pokemon. So look, they can now bring in Basculegion, who potentially has an Aqua Jet. I am kind of worried about. It comes in, takes some great hazards damage, and it does have the priority jet, but luckily the Reflect is still up. I'm able to live, and a Draco Meteor does connect and kills the Basculegion. I'm thinking, okay, surely Aqua Jet Basculegion was the last thing that could possibly come in and hit me for damage. Now my Reflect does go away, but luckily that was the one turn we needed it for, which is sick. And now their final Mon is going to be a Deoxys. So I'm not necessarily worried. This thing has base 150 speed, but after an agility, Kingdra is still faster, which is amazing. And I'm like, well, that's fine. All I got to do is connect with a Flash Cannon. We win the game. Kingdra does it. But they have extreme speed. If this thing wasn't already fast enough, it's carrying priority with the extreme speed. And even through my defensive typing, that's going to be able to kill the Kingdra. So that completely changes the game here. And now I am like, well, what the hell? I have 2 Mons left. I have a Weirdier and a half-dead Magmortar, which is not a great spot to be in. But there's still a chance because, you know, Weirdier might be able to take an attack. I can at least Intimidate, so another extreme speed can't do much. But I don't know exactly what this thing's carrying. Surely a Psycho Boost with a Life Orb is going to hurt. But they go now for a Meteor Beam. Of course they outspeed me. And while they do overflow with some space power, it's going to give it the special attack boost. And also they have the freaking Power Herb, which then allows it to get it off immediately. And a +1 Meteor Beam is going to be able to take care of Weirdier. And I'm like, the tables have turned. The turntables have gone all crazy. And I don't know what the hell's going on here. So my final Mon is going to be Magmortar. And look, I do come in and get my Healing Wish from earlier. You remember, you have to come in with damage. Bad news is, the Healing Wish comes in before the hazards do their thing. So while I do get to full, then immediately get dropped down by the spikes and the Stealth Rocks. I'm kind of where I started. And also, a Deoxys with a special attack boost is generally not the best thing to be matched up against because, you know, this thing, it hits like a damn truck. It's got base 150 special attack. So if getting through Iron Bundle wasn't enough, now I have to deal with this damn thing, and it's able to now go for the Terra Psychic. That's going to boost up a potential Psycho boost with +1 special attack. Guess who has absolutely no shot of taking that? That's going to be our buddy Magmortar here. Base 140 Psycho boost is going to kill the Magmortar, and while I thought I had the match in the bag, Deoxys came through with extreme speed to completely ruin my day. So, you know, it's not invincible, and we take the L on that one, which does happen. Which sucks, but it definitely happens. That's the game we play. Now look, while that was unfortunate, I'm not ending it on that one. We're going to see if we can get Kingdra one more time to do it for us, because that completely blue-balled us. So, you know, we got one more little bonus match for you, and we're coming through with a vengeance. So let's get into it. So what I'm going to try to do on this one is, like, you know, when your football team gets destroyed in the Super Bowl, you then hop on Madden and then beat the same team by like 95 points. We're going to see if we can get Kingdra going. So as they lead off with a Sceptile, I have my Narwhal here who's here to Ceaseless Edge. But a Sceptile matchup is not really ideal. And I'm just going to immediately swap the thing out into the Chimichanga. And Chimecho is a nice little special sponge to at least try to take attacks here. Now as they go for an Energy Ball, we do take it nicely, but they get this special defense drop, which hurts. Now, it does reveal it's also Life Orb, so I don't have to worry about any unburdened stuff, which is great. But I also realize I should maybe be able to take one more Energy Ball here, and I live it with 9. So honestly, shout out to Chimecho. I threw this thing on the squad just to use a screen setter that's like not crazy, and he's coming in pretty damn clutch, not gonna lie. So that now allows me to set up my light screen, and now as I'm looking at it, this Sceptile is totally free to kill me, because honestly, Kingdra does not mind this being its matchup to set up against, especially with the light screen. So down goes the Chimecho. That thing's over there hurting itself with its Life Orb. And just like that, it's Kingdra time, baby. I'm going to go right into Neptune. They're probably like Mrs. Puff thinking, oh, Neptune? Well, at least not yet. As soon as I click this focus energy, that's when they're going to be saying it. So the bad thing is, as the Sceptile outspeeds, it's able to go for a Shed Tail, which I completely forget that this thing gets access to, and gets up a free substitute that they can then pass to whatever they want, which is going to make things a little bit tricky here. But as they bring it into the Gardevoir, of course the Fairy type is a bit of a problem, and it's also behind a freaking sub. So, you know, they trace my sniper, so they know what I'm working with here. But as I get up in agility, at least now we know that we're going to be faster. So I have to play my cards right here, because here's the thing. I, you know, cannot Draco Meteor it, so I'm forced to not have to take a Moonblast. I need to go for my Terra Steel. And I'm thinking I also still need my focus energy up. But the good thing is, the light screen still being up should be able to allow us a position here. So I go for the Terra Steel. Defensively, that's going to be really nice, but it's also going to boost up some Flash Cannon. And I get up my focus energy, and just like that, boom, we got our 2 setup turns. But, you know, there's still a damn beanbag in our way in terms of being able to finish this off for us. So they go for the Moonblast, which luckily does not a damn thing. And that's pretty sweet, because we needed that. So I can then at least go for a Flash Cannon, and while the substitute's there, I just need to break the sub. Now I know that Gardevoir often is going to carry fire coverage with a Mystical Fire, but we're really relying on that light screen to be able to guarantee we can take it. So we get rid of the substitute, which is step 1, which is always great. And now Gardevoir, depending on if it's not Scarf, it does go for a Mystical Fire. And luckily Chimecho comes in clutch, and its light screen is going to hook us up. So the special attack drop is kind of funny, because it literally does not matter. I can then outspeed, go for a Flash Cannon, but they know that's coming, so they end up saving the Gardevoir for later. Now, they end up swapping into something, but here's the thing. Nothing wants to deal with the guaranteed crits. Now, they bring in the Sceptile basically just as a death fodder here. I'm going to go for a Flash Cannon. Kind of badass to launch it out of an axe from the top of my head. Kingdra is just full-on badass like that. So, that's going to delete the Sceptile. Now, as they bring in Sneasler, guess what's going to happen to Sneasler? I'm able to outspeed it, drop a Draco on his ass, and that's going to be a dead Sneasler. With no Unburden, you are not getting through. That's going to be a dead huge threat. So now the Skeledirge is going to join the party. And guess what happens to Skeledirge? Straight up deleted. Draco Meteor is able to kill it. Next up, back comes the Gardevoir. And yeah, that thing gets deleted by a Flash Cannon as well. And we are just absolutely rolling. So now they have a Salamence. Now Salamence, you thought he was doing something? No, he's dead. And final Mon is going to be the Scizor. And this actually does live a Draco Meteor. They probably should have hit it with that a little bit earlier. But as they go for a Pounce, little Technician Pounce is not going to do it for him. If they had the close combat, could have finished me off, but then I can just outspeed, pop him with a Flash Cannon, and that's going to be the end of that one. It's a little highlight reel game for the Kingdras. Honestly, we needed that one from what happened to us in that last game. No extreme speeds this time. So that's going to be the end of that one. Thought it was just a goofy one last game to show that, yeah, things nice, all right? Do not be sleeping on critical hit Kingdra. The Kritdra demands respect, and thing is wild. So thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate all the support, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace out.